Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 99. The Divine Capital, Luoyang. 2 days later, the ship docked at Sanmengxia. Li Jinglong was a little better once he got onto dry land, and Hung Jun stood on the high ground of Sanmengxia, watching the raging waters of the Yellow River. He remembered that the Carpiao's lifelong desire was to leap over the dragon gate located in Sanmengxia, so that it could turn into a dragon. Although it learned later that becoming a dragon wasn't so easy as simply leaping over the dragon gate, and that it had to accumulate merits as well, Hung Jun couldn't resist taking a look at it in person for the Carpiao's sake. When he thought about the Carpiao, his thoughts turned to the day that he had left the Taihang Mountains, before he then thought about Chongming, Qingxiang, and all sorts of other things. It was as if a lifetime had passed since then. He and Li Jinglong had gotten together as well. And ever since the first time he left Yajin Palace, Chongming no longer asked after him, and he never had a good expression on his face when he looked at Li Jinglong. When he thought of that, Hung Jun sighed again. The feeling of having no relatives caused him to feel somewhat lonely. Passing through Sanmengxia to get to the Heluo region no longer required them to take a ship, and it was also here that the merchant caravans dispersed. Li Jinglong and Hung Jun spent some money to rent a carriage, heading into Luoyang with the caravan. Another day and night passed, and they sat within the carriage, resting. Li Jinglong had finally recovered the energy that he had lost thanks to his seasickness, but despite him wanting to be intimate, Hung Jun didn't want to go at it in the carriage, so he hurriedly pushed Li Jinglong away. Suddenly, a voice shouted from outside, "The divine capital, Luoyang, the windows and doors to 1,000 households open. We're here." Hung Jun hurried to lift aside the curtains and peek out. Li Jinglong covered his face with his hand, his heart filled with exasperation. Ever since the Zhou dynasty, when the king of Wu had settled here and given it the name Luoyi, Luoyang had become the center of the world. Since its establishment as the Sanchuan commandery in the Qin dynasty, it had become the capital under Emperor Guanggu of Han, through the Wei and Jin dynasties, and through the 5 Hu and 16 dynasties. The emperors of Sui had resided here, and even the Great Tang had operated with 2 capitals. Luoyang was called the Eastern Capital, where Li Ji and Wu Zetian had resided for a long time. During the time of Wu Zhou's rule, Luoyang had been deemed the divine capital, and the entire city had been laid out according to the 28 star palaces of the constellations. The architecture of the 7 heavens matched the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, as if they were mimicking the imperial palaces above. Of those, the residence of the Ziwei star, the central enclosure of the 3 enclosures in the constellations, was called the Central Palace. It was where the Jade Emperor resided, and was called the Mingtang. The scenery of the 4th month in the human world could be described perfectly with a line from a poem that Li Longji had composed. The beautiful trees of Luoyang reflect off the waters of the river under the bridge of Tianjin, while the banks of the Ba River are covered with weeping willows sprouting new shoots of green. The Tianjin bridge spanned the waters of the Luo River, and the waters reflected the Milky Way above as they flowed into the distance. Li Jinglong and Hung Jun led their horses into the city of Luoyang. Though the western capital was not as grandiose and bustling as Chang'an, it had another kind of splendor that was specific to the central plains. Hung Jun stood on the bridge, watching schools of fish swim in the Luo River below. He thought of how the ancestors to all humans, Fu Shi, had realized the 8 trigrams on the bank of the Luo River, thus creating the chart of the Yellow River and the inscription of the river Luo, and he felt that with how vast the divine land was, how many sights there were to see, and how many phenomena existed in this world, he wondered if he'd be able to see them all in his lifetime. "Head to the east," Li Jinglong said. "Follow the main street through the Dingding gates." "Are we staying at an inn?" Hung Jun asked. Li Jinglong waved his hand, and he and Hung Jun each led a horse along. Their clothes immediately signified that they had come from Chang'an, because though the eastern and western capitals were only separated by a journey of a few days, the entire air of the people and their surroundings were different after they entered the Hang Pass. There was a heavier Hu influence among the people of Chang'an. The cut of their robes, the accessories they wore, and the style of their hair was more casual, while the people of Luoyang preferred a more particular appearance. Li Jinglong was handsome, and Hung Jun charming. As they walked together on the street, several people glanced in their direction. "Head to the Tongtian Futu," Li Jinglong said. Legend has it that the earliest exorcism department is just behind the Futu. Back in the day, when Wu Zhao had been in power, she had ordered the construction of a Buddhist temple, which she called the Tongtian Pagoda. Later, it became the location for Derenge's exorcism department, and afterwards when Emperor Zhongzong, Li Xian, moved the capital to Chang'an, the exorcism department had moved as well. As of today, its sign had been removed and no one resided there. However, on a daily basis, there were still acolytes who looked after it and made sure it remained very clean. There was an extremely large plaza outside. Since it was currently the end of spring, before early summer set in, the sunlight was warm and bright, and quite a few children were playing kuju or kicking jianzi on said plaza. "That's weird." Li Jinglong smiled as he pushed open the door to the courtyard. The Chang'an exorcism department was overgrown with weeds, but despite there being no one in Luoyang anymore, it's still so clean. Hung Jun asked, "Has someone stayed here before?" Li Jinglong replied, "When Yangtze came here to catch the Yao, he stayed here for a night." The two of them unpacked their bags. Li Jinglong also noticed that there was a coarse pottery tea set on the table, and he figured that Qiu Yangtze had used that before. It was also with that Hung Jun remembered Qiu Yangtze had come here previously, and Hung Jun figured that he had already mentioned it to Li Jinglong beforehand. Li Jinglong then pulled out a few copper coins, ancient coins that had been issued during the reign of the previous dynasty. He went outside and found a kid that was kicking a jianzi, handing the money over to him as a prize, saying, "Please bring these 2 copper coins to a man named Sheshi in the Yunlei ward along the eastern main street, and please help me deliver this one to a person named Old Wu in the Saiwen alley of Kuixing Street." The child outside agreed. With that, Li Jinglong and Hung Jun sat down in the exorcism department to drink tea. Like in Chang'an, there was a mural of Akela on the wall. Hung Jun thought of that golden armored warrior god that had killed his parents when he was small, and dimly, he realized that it was the reincarnation of the divine image of Akela. He stood in front of the mural, raising his head to study it, only to see that Akelanatha was holding 6 artifacts. Amongst them, the one that most caught his eye was the sword, which was the sword of wisdom that Li Jinglong took with him wherever he went. "I remember Qing Xiang saying before," Hung Jun said, "that the 6 artifacts must be all gathered before Mara can be slain and the devil seed purified. Is that true?" "That's only a legend," Li Jinglong replied, sipping his tea after a moment of deep thought. "I asked Yangtze this before, and we studied quite a lot of the historical records that Duke De left behind. The legends do indeed state that if Mara is reborn, and things have progressed to a point where it can no longer be held back, then there is no option but to gather the 6 artifacts of Akelanatha and combine them into one, so as to destroy it and allow resentment to return to the heavens," Li Jinglong said. "Resentment was originally born from the beings of the world," Hung Jun said. "What is killed in the end is actually simply that devil seed." Li Jinglong knew what Hung Jun meant by those words. If the 6 artifacts were gathered, the only motive for that would be to destroy the devil seed in Hung Jun's heart. "In these past few years, have you not searched for the other ones?" Hung Jun asked, studying those 6 artifacts. "It's impossible to find them," Li Jinglong said. "They've been missing for almost 1,000 years, from the last time that Mara was reborn until now. After such a long time, how are we supposed to search for them?" Hung Jun asked, "When was the last time Mara was reborn?" "Since the ruler of Qin lost the deer, all heroes in the world have wanted to obtain it," Li Jinglong replied. "From when Bai Qi's betrayal led to the slaughter of 40,000 soldiers, until the unification of the world under the Qin dynasty, countless people died. When the second ruler of Qin died and the world sank again into chaos, resentment finally exceeded the maximum that the divine and earthly veins could handle. Then did Mara descend to this earth. Come over here. Hung Jun knew that ever since Li Jinglong had taken up command over the exorcism department, he had long since familiarized himself with its history. What Li Jinglong knew far exceeded what he himself knew, and Hung Jun didn't feel any undue suspicion. If Mara does truly come out, it won't, I promise you, Li Jinglong replied earnestly. It is not yet time, Hung Jun. Hung Jun's forehead was furrowed deeply as Li Jinglong continued. The first time that Mara was reborn was after the Battle of Zhuelu, the second time Mara was reborn was during the Battle of Muye. The heavens move according to their own laws, not to preserve Yao, nor to destroy Ji. The third time Mara was reborn was during the Chu Han contention. Think about it, what connection exists between those events? They were all large battles in which a great number of people died, Hung Jun said. Li Jinglong nodded. With the deaths of mortals, resentment cannot disperse, which is why it will wander the world, gathering in greater and greater amounts. But many things have happened in these past 1,000 years too, Hung Jun said, after a moment's thought. Putting aside the things in the far past, even 400 years ago, was the number of people that died when the Hans and Hus went to war not enough? Li Jinglong hadn't thought that Hung Jun actually knew about this part of the history of the divine land. He thought deeply for a moment, before saying, so you think that the devil energy that Xia Yu and An Lushan have absorbed were left behind from that era? Hung Jun nodded. Li Jinglong let out a sigh, before continuing, it's true, with the passing of every 1,000 years, the resentment in the human realm is even more than what it was in the previous 1,000 years. Duke de recorded that in his journals as well. The first millennia was the millennia of the ancients, and after the Battle of Zhuelu, Mara was the first to be reborn. The second millennia was the millennia of the ancient three dynasties, and in the Battle of Muye, the king of Wu defeated the 400,000-man army of the Yin Shang dynasty, before using immortal arts to seal the gods. Compared to the last millennia from time immemorial, however, while the number of deaths had increased, it still couldn't be counted as washing the divine land in blood. It wasn't until the third millennia, when the 7 states of the human realm clashed time and again and the banners of the 7 warring states rose with the flames of war, that the number of lives lost could be counted in the hundreds of thousands and millions. Bai Qi killed the warriors of the Zhao state that had surrendered, 400,000 in total. The armies of the 6 states banded together near the Hang Pass, another 500,000 lives. When the Qin state conquered the 6 other states like an autumn wind sweeping away the leaves, that massacre reached its peak. And it was also then, when the wheels on carts were made uniform, the words in books all made the same, and the world finally gained peace, when they thought that this catastrophe had finally reached its end, resentment exploded once again under the guise of the world suffering from the violent rule of the Qin dynasty. Finally, Mara appeared once more. Though the historical materials had been lost and Li Jinglong was unable to find descriptions of the last time that Mara had revived, there was one point that was certain: Akalanatha would appear alongside to get rid of Mara, returning the resentment to the divine and earth veins. Otherwise, De Renja wouldn't have created the exorcism department. By knowing yourself and your enemies, you will win every one of 100 battles, Hung Jun said. Sometimes, I wonder, what exactly am I? Usually, Li Jinglong barely discussed this question with him. He hadn't even thought that Hung Jun would be troubled by this, but ever since the relationship between the two of them had changed, he had slowly begun to understand Hung Jun. He had found that though this youngster with his clear, limpid features looked as if he went through life muddle-headed, he actually hid a lot of things in his heart. Especially when it related to the devil seed and his own identity, his thoughts were like a mirror. It was only that most of the time, if Li Jinglong didn't bring it up, he wouldn't speak of it either. There was no point in avoiding this question, so Li Jinglong cut right to the point. To tell you the truth, I thought of that before as well, but this has nothing to do with who you are. You are you, You are Hung Jun, you're my wife. Hung Jun began to smile, but Li Jinglong didn't wait for his reply before he continued. You spoke correctly. As for what Mara actually is, Mo Rijin, Atai, Yangtze, and I often discuss that question. By knowing yourself and your enemies, you will not encounter danger for 100 battles. This is a principle that our ancestors taught us. To defeat an enemy, you must first understand it. Hung Jun and replied, the devil's seed, at first, should have been in my dad's body. Back then, did my dad become the incarnation of Mara? But if that was the case, how did Akala kill him? Li Jinglong replied, the first thing is the 6 artifacts of Akala, the sword of wisdom, the Yao subduing staff, the Yao binding rope, the golden sun ring, the moon eclipse bow, and the golden arrows. As of right now, we don't know where the other 5 artifacts are, but if it was your dad who was to incarnate into Mara, then only with these 6 artifacts at hand could we get rid of the devil in his body. What if it's me? Hung Jun suddenly asked. If I? No way. Li Jinglong said. How can you think such a thing? As soon as Hung Jun opened his mouth, Li Jinglong guessed what he was going to say. He was going to suck away all the resentment that Xiaoyu's 3 Hun had gathered and turn into a devil himself, then let Li Jinglong kill him. All right then, Hung Jun said, scratching his head. If you make a fool of yourself while trying to act smart, and you don't have the 6 artifacts in hand, when I lose consciousness it'll be even more troublesome. It's not an issue of making a fool of myself while trying to act smart, Li Jinglong replied in anger, frowning deeply. If you die, what am I supposed to do? What I care about is you, it's you. Hung Jun hadn't thought that he would say those words, and could only reply, all right then. It seemed like Lu Su had truly kept his silence, because this was the first time that Li Jinglong had learned that Hung Jun was thinking of such a method. He couldn't grow angry, nor could he let himself be shocked, so he could only seek confirmation from Hung Jun time and again. Hung Jun could only respond again and again with okay, okay, okay. What okay? Li Jinglong said. You haven't taken it to heart at all. Hung Jun studied Li Jinglong, and he suddenly felt a bit of heartache. Actually, he didn't feel too many attachments to living, perhaps because he had grown up by Chongming's side, and the phoenix had always viewed living in a detached light. Qingxiang was also a great Yaoguai that didn't really cling to life. It was often said that the fungus of the morning didn't know of the first and last days of the month, and the cicadas did not know of the spring and autumn. It didn't matter if he was human or Yao, because in this infinite world, his lifetime was only a single drop in a vast ocean. With that, he had always made peace with life and death, ever since he was a child. Living was of course a thing of joy, and even if he were to head to his death tomorrow, he wouldn't feel much regret, especially after he and Li Jinglong were together. He felt that he had not lived his life in vain, having come to this realm and walked through it. But if he were to die, then Li Jinglong's life would probably be very lonely. This was something that he naturally didn't dare to say, otherwise that would bring an endless stream of Li Jinglong's scolding down on his head. Upon seeing that he was very angry, Hung Jun could only keep nodding. Promise me, Li Jinglong said at last, that you will be with Gaig, and we will live well. In this moment, a wave of warmth swelled in Hung Jun's heart, and he nodded. Okay, we'll live together. Li Jinglong continued, you must swear on my life. If you do anything outrageous, then I'll die. That won't do, Hung Jun immediately protested. Li Jinglong replied easily, either way, if you really want to do what you're thinking, I won't kill you either. I'll stand there watching you, and I'll let you kill me. When that time comes, you'll feel even more terrible, and after you kill me, no one will be able to hold you back, so you'll become Mara. When you become Mara, the entire divine land will be destroyed at your hands. Hung Jun immediately shot back, how can you do that? Li Jinglong said, why can't I? I have to do something for myself. In the end, Hung Jun had no choice, he couldn't beat him in speaking, and Li Jinglong was also smart. Hung Jun had brought up that method of raising everything to the ground so that he could save everyone, but since Li Jinglong had said this, Hung Jun could only give up this idea. At that time, someone said from outside, requesting an audience with the king. The two of them immediately turned their heads, only to see two skinny men walk in. Each of them were skinny in their own way, and to the point where they each had their own sense of oddness. The person to the left had the triangular face of a snake Yao, that was the sand snake that they had captured near Yumen. The one to the right seemed to be about 40, and his posture was hunched over slightly. The beard on his face was all over the place, like a monkey, and he bowed slightly, saying, "Greetings to the king." Li Jinglong gestured for them to come in, only for Hung Jun to wonder, when exactly did you become their king? Li Jinglong explained to Hung Jun, Old Wu was that monkey Yao that now had by its side before, and after Yangtze killed that now, he gave it its freedom. Now, it sells fruits in Luoyang to make a living. Those two Yaogwai kowtowed to Hung Jun together, and it was only then that Hung Jun realized the king that they were addressing was actually himself. He hurriedly said, quickly, "Rise, I'm no king." Li Jinglong used his gaze to send a message, and without understanding why, Hung Jun also nodded. Li Jinglong continued, "The tasks that young Master Chiu gave you to, how are they progressing?" To inform the two of you, that sand snake said, King Qing Xiang also ordered us to keep a close eye out. In the past few days, those two great Yaogwai under Mara's command came to Luoyang. Qing Xiang! Hung Jun exclaimed. When did Qing Xiang come? End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 100. Worrying over gaining and losing. Just half a month ago, that monkey Yao named Old Wu replied, His Majesty was gathering up the Yao tribes in preparation for a battle with Mara. Hung Jun. Hung Jun had never expected that so many things had happened somewhere that he had no idea about. So, it was just before the accidents happened at the Chang'an Royal Mausoleums that Li Jinglong had sent Chu Yangtze to Luoyang. And in Luoyang, while investigating the matter of Yaogwai eating the brains of children, Chu Yangtze had followed along the vine to the melon, and caught a Nao Yao. That Nao Yao had cultivated for 300 years, and was a very difficult opponent. Just as Chu Yangtze was about to face it down, Qing Xiang had suddenly appeared, and he beat the Nao Yao back into its original shape. When that Nao Yao had come to Luoyang, it had captured a small monkey to use as a slave, and that was this one named Old Wu standing in front of them. Qing Xiang and Chu Yangtze interrogated the Nao Yao, and they had gained information from it. Qing Xiang also informed Chu Yangtze that he was going to go gather up the Yao tribes that were not under the command of Xiaoyu or Mara, preparing to send them in support of Li Jinglong not long after, to fight back against Xiaoyu. With that, they hastily bid each other farewell and left Luoyang. This sand snake Yao had been purposefully left by Li Jinglong in Longzi. After the group finished their trip to Dunhuang, that day when Li Jinglong had brought Hung Jun back to the city, he had left Hung Jun in the bath while he went to go take care of this matter. He released the sand snake and ordered him to hurry to Chang'an, so that he could bring Xiaoyu a breakthrough. Hung Jun listened to this all, his head filled with fog, and he asked, What breakthrough? I told him to tell Xiaoyu that the devil seed in your body could go out of control at any time, Li Jinglong said. That would then force him to act as soon as he could, and he would come to make things difficult for you, so that he could take back the devil chi that he had painstakingly gathered, only for you to steal away. But instead but just as Hung Jun was about to ask, Li Jinglong sent him a glance, and it was only then that Hung Jun understood. At that time, Li Jinglong had already thought about using the heart lamp to seal away the devil seed in his body. However, what he had purposefully leaked to Xiaoyu was that Hung Jun had no way at all to control it. That was the reason why Xiaoyu, in the Zhao Mausoleum, had taken the risk to steal away the devil qi in Hung Jun's body. But Hung Jun had clearly struck back, and Xia Yu's movements were exposed because of that. Through this trail that Li Jinglong had deduced, they had managed to capture this big fish, Yang Kua's Hong. If he thought even further back, how did Li Jinglong have any handle on sealing the devil qi in his own body? Perhaps it was that night in Dunhuang, when the corpse ghost king had mentioned the 7 emotions and 6 desires. They couldn't seal Lu Su, but they could seal Hung Jun. When Hung Jun understood this layer of his thoughts, he felt that this guy's plans were so intricately interlinked. His mouth twitched as he said, "You're too cunning." Li Jinglong replied humbly, "These are all little tricks, not enough to be worth mentioning." And saying this, he then addressed the 2 Yao. "Then, have there been any strange occurrences within the city recently?" "Quite a few Yao have come to the city of Luoyang," the sand snake replied politely. "Gunaida, that Gu now, 2 of them came as well, and they're currently lingering within the city." Old Wu was clearly afraid of the Gu now, and he said, "Your Majesty, the Gu now are very difficult to deal with, you two must be very careful." According to the information they had received previously, those 2 Gu now had left because they were hunting down the injured Kun god who had escaped. For them to have stopped in Luoyang, neither returning to Chang'an to report to Enlushan on the completion of their task nor leaving, and for them to have prepared to stay here long term, meant that something was indeed fishy. Li Jinglong thought for a moment, before asking, where were the spots they appeared. One appeared to the east of the Tianjin Bridge, in the restaurant of 10,000 Flowers, the sand snake said. The other appeared outside the city, in the peony of heavenly fragrance. Li Jinglong thought deeply for a moment. Old Wu stopped speaking again, but Hung Jun could tell that he had something to say, so he gestured for him to speak. "Has another Yao King come to Luoyang?" Little Wu asked. "In these past few days, there was a disturbance of Yao power, but before I had the chance to search it out, it immediately disappeared." Li Jinglong immediately understood. The Kun god had either been captured, or was hiding in the city with his wound-ridden body. With that, Li Jinglong told the 2 Yaogwai to continue their surveillance, and if there were any changes, to return immediately to report to him. He then sent them off. The 2 of them sat in the hall of the Luoyang exorcism department. Hung Jun was still musing over the mountain of twists and turns from before, while Li Jinglong was lost in his own thoughts. As he thought, he kept glancing at Hung Jun, and as he looked at him, he began to smile. "What are you smiling about?" Hung Jun asked. "I'm smiling about the fact that you're mine now," Li Jinglong said. "Can't I be happy about that?" Hung Jun was torn between laughter and tears, so instead, he asked, "What are we supposed to do now?" Li Jinglong replied helplessly, "I've been so entranced by you that I can't think of other matters, so I've turned dumb." Hung Jun chuckled as he replied, "I want to go out for a walk, is that all right?" Li Jinglong happily nodded, but just as he was about to rise, Hung Jun added, "I want to go out on my own, stay here on your own and keep thinking ba." Li Jinglong was not happy about that, but when he thought about how the 2 of them were already together, it wasn't like they could stick together for all eternity, whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears all day long. Never mind that as soon as he had fallen in love, his entire brain had no effort to spare for thinking over their problems. All he wanted to do was to talk with him, so he said, unwillingly, "Then make sure you keep track of the time, and come home soon." Hung Jun went forward and kissed him, saying, "I'll buy some food on my stroll." That kiss made steam rise from all over Li Jinglong's body, like he was a boiling kettle. After calming himself, he felt that ever since the 2 of them had gotten together, Hung Jun had actually grown from being half coerced, half accepting in the beginning to being very natural about his actions. Perhaps the memories from that dream of their childhood had caused this, but he was no longer restraining himself. Instead, they felt as if they had been together for many years, and their hearts were aligned. These were the feelings that he had anticipated and yearned for his entire life. But all of this was far too perfect, so perfect that Li Jinglong was a little afraid. He was afraid that 1, he wasn't a member of the Yao tribes, and 2, he had no noble background, and he wasn't worthy of how Hung Jun was treating him. He was afraid that these beautiful scenes and bright days were going too well, there would eventually come a day when the flowers would wither, and he was afraid that in the coming days, they would fall out with each other. He was even more afraid, however, of what Hung Jun had said before, because those words had carried an inauspicious air about them. Li Jinglong had also had a dream before, and in that dream, after worrying for a while over what he had and what he could lose, Li Jinglong was reminded that he didn't know where Hung Jun had gone. He was constantly afraid that he would be discovered by the Gunao on the way to somewhere, but there was no Mara here, and at the heart of it, there shouldn't be anything to worry over, he was probably just worrying for no reason. There was still that case that they had to solve, and he should quickly lay out the details so that he could set up a trap for those two Gunao to walk themselves into. Why hadn't Hung Jun come back yet? How long had he been gone? That wasn't right, the incense on the tea table hadn't burnt through yet, so it was less than the time of a stick of incense. Why did he feel like a long time had passed? This was the first time that Hung Jun had come to Luoyang, and the reason he didn't want to come out with Li Jinglong was because he wanted to buy something to give to him. Before, he had often envied those lovers who wholeheartedly cherished their other half and never took even a step from the other's side, though the starting lines that Zhou Wenjun, who had composed this song, White-Haired Lament, had chosen, "I have heard that my lord possesses a changing heart, so I have come to declare that we shall part," weren't much better. If they had exchanged locks of hair and become husband and wife, and had no doubt in the other's love, that would also be very good. That was why he wanted to make a love token and give it to Li Jinglong. Jade or gold was too vulgar, and sword tassels or armor was too unrefined, but giving him a personal magical artifact would be pretty good. Hung Jun had often created many such small items in Yaojin Palace before, most of which he had used on Chongming. They had almost all failed, and since this was the first time that he was going to try and properly craft an artifact, he had to go back and ask Xu Yangxi. There was only one market in Luoyang, called All Walks of Life, and it wasn't as large as Chang'an's eastern and western markets. While Hung Jun was walking through the market, he spied a thumb ring and was suddenly reminded that Li Jinglong often drew bows and knocked arrows to the string, so making a thumb ring would be pretty good as well. With that, he bought a thumb ring and prepared to use it as a model. He would use other materials that would be useful for crafting an artifact with. He kept strolling around, and he saw a set of leather armor made in the Hu style. There were only a few straps left on that armor, and they wrapped around the left shoulder. There was a leather vambrace for the right arm, and it was clear that this was used for falconry. Li Jinglong's musculature was very beautiful, and he had all the muscles that he should, so if he put this on, the leather that covered half his torso would make him look very nice. With that thought, Hung Jun then wasted some more money and bought a set of that leather armor. The winds of spring gusted around him, but just as Hung Jun was about to enter the medicine hall to stock up on ingredients, he suddenly saw a man lying outside, moaning and struggling. Parts of his flesh had already rotted, and under that spring sunlight, he looked very gruesome and horrifying. "Help me! Help me! You won't live, stop shouting," a runner for the medicine hall came out to say. "Hey! Whose families is this? Take him back quickly." Hung Jun finally couldn't stand by any longer. He bent over, wanting to take his pulse, but a doctor called from the inside, "Don't touch him. Otherwise you'll be infected too." It was nearing dusk, and the vendors along the street were slowly packing up. Hung Jun asked that person, "Where do you live?" From that man's throat came a series of stubborn sounds, and he said, "Have money, I have money. I'll give you money, save me." And saying this, he addressed the people in the medicine hall. "Doctor, I don't want to die, save me, I'll give my life to you. As the sun set, Morajin wore a set of coarse robes and pushed along a pushcart as he and Lu Su passed through a small alley, heading towards the Angzi military manor to deliver wine. Lu Su asked, "Today?" Morajin seemed to be a little hesitant, and he replied, "Let's wait another day." The proprietress of the Amber of Lanling, Tu Reinduct, had introduced to them this job of delivering wine to the Angzi military manor. Every day, before the sun set, they would deliver 40 jugs of wine for the warriors under En Lushan's command to enjoy. After the Jidushi entered the capital, En Lushan would head out every now and then into the palace, 16 soft litters carrying him in. He would make his greetings to the emperor and the imperial consort, before then returning to his warriors to feast. Morajin did some calculations, and these 200 people in the Angzi military manor within the city of Chang'an alone would eat 10 goats and 10 pigs a day, in addition to countless chickens, ducks, geese, as well as venison, musk deer, and fish. The wine was sent in jug after jug, and they were all poured into one large tub and sent into the banquet hall. The people who were drinking would each hold a basin and ladle out their portions from within. Lu Su said, "I feel like it's about time today, all the people in the manor recognize us." Morajin pushed the cart in, and the quartermaster remarked, "Yo, you've come pretty early today." "Yes, yes." Morajin used a towel to wipe his hands, looking very much like a servant. If it wasn't for his tall, lanky build, if he was tossed amongst the bunch of personal servants, he wouldn't look any different from them. Lu Su, however, had pale skin and delicate features, so it was obvious at first glance that he was not used to doing work. He stood to one side, watching coldly, and the first time Morajin had come, he simply introduced him as a distantly related Didi, a scholar. He himself worked so that Lu Su could buy books and prepare for the imperial examinations next year. The quartermaster didn't suspect them either, and he said, "Same rules, pour them into the tub." Morajin began to pour the wine into the tub, while Lu Su stood to one side and continued to watch. It was just at that time that the housekeeper came to the backyard and said to the quartermaster, "How did those two that were carrying the meat platters yesterday go missing? Go to the eastern market and find 2 more upright ones." Lu Su immediately shot Morajin a look, and Morajin nodded slightly to indicate that he understood. However, he didn't say anything, he simply continued to smile and pour the wine. Yesterday night, Ashinakayan had knocked out 2 gophers from the manor as a test, before ensuring that they would have the contents of their innards coming out from both ends, so that they wouldn't show up in time to serve En Lushan today. They wanted to see if Morajin and Lu Su could fill in for them, and as expected, their chance came. The quartermaster made a noise of assent, before saying to Morajin, "How about you two? You're a little taller, so make sure that you pay attention and kneel. Don't stay too upright and that'll do." Morajin beamed at that, and he hurried to agree. Lu Su, however, wasn't very willing. The quartermaster added, "There's money. In a while, we'll reward each of you with 200 coins to spend, and if the Lord Jidushi is in a good mood, he may even reward you with an ingot of silver. Then you'll have struck it rich." It was only with that Lu Su agreed. That quartermaster didn't want to make that trip to the western market, so he had the 2 of them wipe themselves down a little and change into coarse cloth robes, which were more convenient for them to wear as they served En Lushan his dinner. As night fell, Morajin and Lu Su pressed the handle of the water pump a few times, hastily wiping their bodies. Morajin's skin was a healthy bronze color from years of exposure to the sun. Lu Su, however, was used to wearing night travel clothes when he had been a scout and hadn't got much sunlight, so as a result, his skin was still pale. Morajin studied Lu Su's outline and his skin, before smiling. "Between you and Hung Jun, who's paler? How's that your business?" Lu Su replied, turning his back to him. Morajin stared at Lu Su's naked body, lost in his thoughts, and he suddenly understood a little bit of wily Jinglong-liked youths. That primal and crude lust had more or less dimly struck him. The two of them took off their clothes and changed into leather skirts, their upper halves bare, with two leather straps wrapped around them. That was the usual dress of the Tuju people, and since An Lushan had been born in Tuju and often sparkled with gold and silver adornments, he liked for the warriors under his command to wear Tuju leather armor that revealed their chests, symbolizing their valor. When they came out, there were people in the backyard pouring out basket after basket of live fish into another crate. The fish in that large wicker basket flopped, falling all across the ground, and amongst them, a long-armed, long-legged carp fell out as well, flopping in a lively manner. It hurriedly gathered up its arms and legs, and while the servants weren't looking, hid itself in the crate, peeking out. The servants brought one basket over first, and Lu Su took that chance to call, "Zhao Zilong." The carpio stuck its head out from the pile of fish. Morigin gestured for it to come over, but the carpio protested, "I'm not wearing any clothes. I'm going to die of shame." Morigin asked, "Didn't you go around not wearing clothes before too? It's different taking it off after you put on clothes." The carpio shrank back in, and at this moment, the servants returned, carrying the crate it was in inside as well. Lu Su and Morigin were both bored out of their minds, and they sat under the eaves of the open-air corridor in the backyard, waiting. Morigin turned his head to look at Lu Su, trying to find something to say, but Lu Su remained as impassive as he always had been, nor did he speak of his own accord. "Hey," Morigin said. "N." Lu Su glanced at Morigin, as if after seeing his memories, he had strangely gotten to reacquaint himself with this person. "Don't worry," Morigin said. "Everything will be fine." "Who's worrying about you?" Lu Su shot back. "You're overthinking this. Be my diddy ba." Morigin reached a hand out to touch Lu Su's head, yet Lu Su batted that hand aside. "I'm not Hung Jun," Lu Su said. "He doesn't understand anything, but I do, and you can't trick me into going with you with just a few meals." "Oh ho," Morigin said, smiling. "If I really wanted to trick you, I wouldn't be acting the way I am now. I've never hidden anything from you before." "They don't know?" Lu Su suddenly asked. Morigin hadn't expected that Lu Su would still remember his dream, but he replied nonchalantly, "What is there to talk about?" "Li Jinglong doesn't know either?" Lu Su asked. Morigin was evidently unwilling to talk more about it, and he changed the topic. "In a bit, we'll act according to the plan. You came to Chang'an not just for the sake of getting some field experience," Lu Su said. "Did I guess right? Wasn't it to find you?" Some emotion flashed through Morigin's eyes, and it was as if he had become a different person entirely. His smile also turned complicated and contemplative. "Then why remain with the exorcism department?" Lu Su asked. Morigin replied, "Of course it's for my brothers." Lu Su said, "Atai and Ashinakayang are staying for their sacred flame, for the sake of rebuilding their country. Yangtze Ge is staying to capture Xiaoyu. Why do you all like Yangtze so much?" Morigin studied Lu Su appraisingly. "You all like to call him Ge." "Because he's cultured," Lu Su said. "All right, I'm a bore," Morigin replied, smiling. It just so happened that Morigin was taking a break after arriving at his destination, but just as Lu Su was about to ask more, there was suddenly a pained wah from behind. That was the Carpiao's voice, and the two of them immediately rose and hurried over. The Carpiao's soul had left its body as it swiftly scurried out, trembling incessantly. "So horrifying," the Carpiao said. "I won't stay there any longer." "What's wrong?" Lu Su and Morigin immediately grew worried. With rapid steps, Morigin passed through the corridor, looking into the back kitchens with Lu Su. They thought that Mara was in the kitchen, but all they saw were some hundreds of salted dried fish hanging from the eaves on down. "You must face the horror in your heart head on," Lu Su said impassively. End chapter.